Welcome to Getting Clean on the Prairies. Today I'm going to show you the making and the cutting of my Muddy Waters charcoal and clay facial and body bar. So our oils here are all melted and heated to the right temperature, and we are ready to add the lye to the oils here. I just want to run through all the amazing ingredients that we're going to be adding to this soap today and let you know what they are good for. So first of all, the two essential oils that are going in here are tea tree and lavender. The tea tree is a great essential oil for the skin and for I think problem skin as well. So a good astringent, antibacterial. Of course, lavender is good for everything when it comes to skin. So there's going to be a combination of that going in. So I said this is going to be a charcoal clay soap, and the things that I'm going to be using today are activated charcoal. And this is an amazing product for the skin. It unclogs pores, removes impurities in the skin, and things like dirt, toxins, heavy metals, other poisons are attracted to charcoal molecules. So it actually draws those things from the skin. So that makes it a great ingredient. And then I'm putting in a couple different clays here, Moroccan red clay and a glacial clay. Those also detoxify, rehydrate the skin, and are great for sensitive skin as well. And as far as the super fat, it is going to consist of some infused olive oil that I infused with calendula petals and lavender. And I'm going to add some cocoa butter. So that is going to go on the stove and melt slowly. So a super fat, if anybody has not heard of that, that is the extra oils and butters that are left in a soap after it's saponified. So when you mix your oils and your butters with lye, a chemical reaction occurs which turns it into soap. So the lye is no longer toxic or caustic. The oils and butters are no longer don't longer have the same properties that they did, so because they are now soap. So when you add an extra amount of butters and oils such as this, that stays in the soap, and you get the benefit of it that way. So I use a 6% super fat in my soaps. So all the wonderful properties of cocoa butter, olive oil, along with the lavender and calendula will stay in the soap and benefit the skin. Also on the stove is some goat's milk that I have gotten from a local neighbor. It's raw goat's milk. I freeze, and I'm just warming it up on the stove, and that will be added after saponification as well. So let's get this soap put together. So we're just going to put the lid on it here and let it sit for 5 minutes or so to do some cooking. So while I am waiting for this to volcano, I'm just putting together all my ingredients to get them ready to add, because everything happens pretty fast at the end here. So we have the super fats here. So this is cocoa butter and the olive oil, infused olive oil. I got my goat's milk here all melted and ready to go in. I've got some activated charcoal and my glacial clay stirred together. I'm going to be adding those at the end. And I'm going to try to swirl in the red Moroccan clay just to give it a little bit of a pattern in the soap. So this is Moroccan red clay that I've dissolved in some of the super fat oil. And after the soap is made, I'm going to take a portion of it and mix this into it and swirl it into the pot. So hopefully that all works out. Sometimes at the end things get very, the soap gets hard fast and things don't work out quite the way you hope when you're doing this type of hot process soap. So we will see how it goes. The soap here is starting to volcano. You can see that. So I'm just going to stir it down. Very, very hot. It's kind of at what we call the applesauce stage right now, the consistency. I'm kind of expecting it to heat up here again and start volcanoing, which is what's happening here. So just need to get the spatula here and stir it down again. Just kind of let it go for a few minutes, seconds here, and then stir it down. At this point here, you just have to keep stirring and stirring until it gets a kind of a waxy, shiny look to it. It's very hard on the old rotator. You just have to keep stirring it in because as it cools on the edges here, it starts to harden and because it wants to turn into soap. I want to try and keep it kind of runny for now so that I can get my additives in there. So we'll just keep stirring here until I think it's done saponifying, and then we'll give it the zap test on the tongue. So I think this has gotten to the consistency of what I call the waxy Vaseline stage. So I'm just going to take a small piece of soap and cool it off and just touch it to my tongue to see if I get zapped. If I get zapped, that means that it's not finished saponifying and the lye is still caustic. So I will test it out here. I always do this over a running tap of water and just lightly touch it to my tongue. You'll know. If it tastes like soap and doesn't zap your tongue, then you know it's ready. So I touched it to my tongue and nothing. So I'm just gonna run it under some water here. Oop. And it's starting to suds up and make a lather, so I know that we have been successful and we have soap. Still nice and easy to stir, so that's great. I'm going to stir in my goat's milk, work it in real good, and then we'll add the super fat. So I've just discounted some of the water that I use at the beginning, and that's what I calculate my goat's milk out at. Sometimes when you add things like clay or essential oils, your soap can seize up on you really quickly. So you just have to be prepared that things aren't always going to go the way you want it to. So now we're going to put in the super fat cocoa butter and the infused olive oil. So when you're trying to do a swirl like this with a hot processed soap, like I said, you have to work very fast. So what I'm doing here is I've taken a cup that I'm going to put some of the soap into and add the moroccan clay portion into it and mix it up. So just to help keep the soap from hardening too fast, I've filled this measuring cup with boiling water. So I'm just going to dump it out now, and then I'm going to scoop some of the soap into here and add the moroccan clay mixture and stir it up real fast. So you always want to make sure you keep your soap covered to keep the temperature from dropping too fast. So we'll cover that up. Now I'm going to add the Moroccan red clay, which I had mixed into some of my olive oil and cocoa butter. Try to get as much of it as I can out of here. Stir it in really good. So it's kind of got a brown tinge to it. It's not red by any means, but hopefully we will see the swirl in the soap once we add the charcoal here to this portion. And then don't forget to add the essential oils. Okay, so it's still nice and loose. That's great. So we will add in our wonderful clays and charcoal. Try not to stir it too fast because it'll poof up in your face. Use my charcoal soap to shave my legs because the clay makes a nice slipping action in the soap. So you can use it to shave your legs, your arms, your face, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to add the lavender and tea tree oil now. This is when sometimes the soap gets a little finicky and can react. Give this one more good stir, and then we're going to swirl in the other color and get it into the thing here right away. Pretty soap isn't really my specialty, so I'm just going to drop this in chunks. Maybe keep a little bit for the top. Keep it warm by covering it up there. Just going to give this a few quick stirs. Okay, we're ready to put it into as you can see, it's very thick. It's hardening fast. Probably going to have a little excess here for a couple bars of soap for myself. One thing about the hot process soap, it isn't really a, I would call a pretty soap. It's more of a rustic looking soap, which I like. That's kind of my style. So I'm just gonna plop some more in here. Now at this point, if you have time, you can sometimes give it a little swirl and make it look a little more. I just want to make sure it's all filled in. So I freeze dry my soaps right after I've poured them into the mold. They go into the freezer and I freeze them for about 24 hours before I unmold them. So hopefully this looks pretty when it comes out. It's kind of a wait and see. Okay, so we've got it molded and it's going into the freezer. So next time I bring you back, we will unmold it and put it in the cutter and see how the swirls turned out. Okay, we have the soap in place and we are ready to cut. So this is the final cut of the charcoal and clay soap using all natural ingredients. If you would like to have any questions about how to make soap or would like to leave comments below, please do so. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you will be notified when my next video is up on the channel. Thanks for watching.